through my chin on hands pose. I'm using my fake baby because I don't often have the opportunity to explain every single little detail or element to the pose. And going through this setup, I'm going to show you how easy it is to transition from the bum up pose over into the chin on hands pose. With our fake baby here, obviously she's not made up the same way a newborn baby is, so she doesn't have reflexes, she doesn't respond to movements, but being able to just show you all those different little things that I look for is really going to help with progressing your photographs to that next level. So the first thing I want to do is pull out some of the supports that I've got from underneath the baby at the moment. In the bum up pose, we have supports underneath the head and we have supports underneath the bottom. It is extremely important that with the chin on hands pose that the baby is supported underneath the chest, but not so much underneath the bottom. So when you're bringing the hands up underneath the chin like this, it's extremely hard to do that on a flat surface. So what you have to do is create a shelf underneath the baby's chest to be able to lift it up and onto that space, and that's going to make it a lot more comfortable for the baby to bring those arms forward. You can see here we've got a little bit of a lift underneath the top of the baby, so I'm going to reposition those and I'm going to adjust some of the supports here at the back. Now with the bum up pose, the legs are crossed at the back of the baby. I'm actually going to leave those in that exact position, and then I'm going to concentrate on the hands and shoulders and then on the chin. So all I really have to do is make sure that when I'm positioning the baby towards the light, that the face is coming up and we're going to have that beautiful angle come across the eyebrow and down across the face. So I did turn the posing bag towards the light for the bum up pose, but I can actually bring it back, and by doing that means that when I bring the baby forward like in this position, it's going to be on a 45-degree angle towards my light, which is what I'm looking for. The hand here that's underneath the chin, I'm just going to bring out, gently lifting the baby's head here and rest that arm to the side. And we've got both hands just out to the side like that. I'm going to readjust my supports underneath. So taking the weight of the baby's head with my left hand holding the blankets, I'm just going to bring those out and lower the baby down. What I want to do is make an even support underneath the baby's chest and make sure that the supports are nice and evenly spread underneath where the elbows are going to go as well. And this is going to keep them flat, because if we're just supporting the head and hands, the elbows will come down. So what I want is that to look nice and even there across the elbows. So bringing my hand up underneath the baby's head, you can see there like that. I'm just going to lift and bring those supports underneath the chest area. Okay, now that I've done that and we've got that height, got those legs comfortable at the back, what we can do is start to bring the hands forward. What I do is bring one finger up underneath the palm of the hand, pushing that thumb through, and with my head underneath the baby's underneath the baby's head, I can just gently take the weight of the baby's head off the posing bag and scoop that hand up underneath. Now if you've got a baby that's showing a little bit of resistance or pulling back, I just do it very, very gently and I don't force the baby, because if they're pulling back, I'm not going to yank their arm forward. I'm going to do it very, very gradual and very gentle. But when you've got a baby that's in a nice deep sleep, you should be able to just guide that hand forward. Sometimes I find too, just rocking the baby's head gently back and forth like this allows them to relax the muscles in their arms and hands. So the same on the other side, hands down the side of the baby's head, nice and flat fingers, taking the weight there and bringing that other hand up underneath. So before we go and put any more support there underneath the head, I'm just going to explain that when you do bring the chin onto the back of the hands, you can see that the hands are directly on top of one another. I don't have the arms fully crossed over like that, because if you do that yourself, it's very hard to bring your chin forward that far. But when the elbows are separated and the hands are on top of one another, you can then bend the elbows to bring the wrists and underneath that chin like that. And what I'm looking for, and it doesn't matter which hand, is that the back of the hand that's under the chin is resting under that jawline like that. So a lot of the times you'll get the baby into position like this, but you can't see the top of the baby's head. So it's a matter of bringing that ear back towards the elbow and bringing that chin forward. That's what I'm looking for. So with another support here, what I'm going to do is just keep going over the top of the pile that's underneath to now lift up a little higher and get them into position. So you can see with the hands on top of one another, that's how I would have the chin resting there, and then the ear can come back and rest on top of that forearm. When I am holding the baby's head and I'm positioning it like this, it's important to make sure that you're not pushing down on the top of the baby's head, but you're using the bones along the side here and here to just gently take the weight of the baby's head. My hands are extremely soft, they're not firm, they're not squeezing, but they're just taking the weight of the baby's head there and resting gently on top. With the back of the baby down here, with the bottom, you can tend to curl that bottom half around so that when you are coming in and taking a photograph, you can see the little toes in the background and the thigh sticking out there. Okay, so let's now have a look at those camera angles and that direction of light that's coming through. So I usually like to sit on the ground when I take this shot, from pretty much here on an angle. So I've actually got her face turned away from the light. So I go square on with the face when I'm looking for that camera angle from here, but her little body is sort of on a different angle. That's what I'm looking for, that shape. And by turning her face back this way towards that back foot, being able to come around allows me to see the bottom half of her body to show those little toes and feet, which is so cute. So to position her for the light, now obviously our fake baby is not going to lie exactly the same way as a new baby, but to have her in position like this, when I'm looking for that light, if I've got her front on, you can see there's barely any shadows there coming across her face. So it's not going to highlight all of those little features. I want to create some shadow, so I'm going to turn her face away from the light, which is what I want. Therefore, I can bring my body around, as I explained, for that camera angle to get the bottom half of her little body there in it. And then I'm going to create some shadows on this side of the face to highlight those little cheeks. Now, when I'm positioning the hands to keep the head nice and supported, I want to make sure that the hands are underneath that jawline. If the hands are too far forward, and they become sort of, like a bit of a tangled mess there, they can be a little distracting in front of the baby's face there and compete for attention. If the hands are too far back underneath the chin, the head is going to fall forward and it's not going to have any support. So that's why it's really important to have that jawline resting on the back of the hand, and that's what's going to help balance that head in place. So let's bring those hands back into position. I'm not too fussed about which hand is on top. It all depends on the baby. So that's what I'm looking for. And then this is going to be my camera angle. I'm going to position the baby in the bottom 2/3 of my frame and have all of this beautiful background behind her. Not in front of her, but behind her. So when I am looking for that position, I'll bring my camera out. I'm going to zoom in to 70mm so I get that beautiful depth of field, and I'm going to focus on the eye that's closest to the camera. I'm going to shoot this at 2.8 to create that beautiful depth of field, and at 70mm I'm going to have very little distortion, which is beautiful. So she's going to be in the bottom half of my frame. Her head is going to be on the right-hand side of the frame, and her body is going to lead into that negative space behind her, which is what I want. Now that angle there is my full pullback. Then I'm going to come in and get a nice close-up, and this is where I can get the beautiful little details of those fingers and that hand. But when I come in for that close-up, you know, it's pretty much right there, the shot that I'm looking for. It's a very, very tight crop. What I also love about the variety of this pose is that I can bring fabric up over the top, I can use hats and bonnets to decorate, and I can also change the hands. So with this top hand here, I can actually take the weight of her head, bring that out, and then I can bring that hand up in underneath that cheek to create something a little bit different. This is also a great setup to shoot from here and get a little side profile and get that hand cupped around that cheek, which is what I love. So I'm always aiming to get around 2 to 3 completely different angles for my client gallery. Now what I do with those different angles is, like I mentioned before, style with hats and bonnets, take them off, put them on. So I'm not having to reposition the baby, but I'm creating completely different looks for my client gallery.